Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Inquisitive Finance. I'm your host, Rafael Negron. Today, I'm going to be talking about the 4% rule. The 4% rule is probably a rule of thumb that many of you have heard about, and it's essentially a way to manage your money after you retire to ensure that you can have a happy and prosperous retirement and you still have money to live off of, especially after having worked so hard for it during your entire career. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so the 4% rule. What exactly is the 4% rule? Well, just like I said, it's a retirement spending guideline to ensure that you do not run out of money for at least 30 years, okay? Most of us want to think, at least I do, that we're going to live a long and prosperous retirement, let's say golden years of our life, okay? If I plan on retiring at 67, it'd be awesome if I can make sure that I live until 90, 95, etc. But can you imagine if when 67 hit, I really had no idea how to manage my money and I just thought, oh, I'll just sell some whenever I feel like it and that'll get me through 97, But it doesn't really work that way. There's a lot of things that still happen. You can imagine that if you have another 30 years to live, you might even want to use some of that time to continue aggressively growing your money. I think it probably still depends on your risk tolerance, but I'm 32 now, so that 30-year span is almost as old as I am now. So there's still going to be a lot of things that I want to make sure I do during that time, and knowing how to manage my money is one of them. And odds are, I probably don't want to have to pay someone to have to do this for me. So that's why it's good to know these rules of thumb. So let's get back right into it. It says here you can safely withdraw 4% of your total portfolio in your first year of retirement and then adjust that amount for inflation every single year. Now, there's a fantastic article here from Schwab that I've pulled up before, but of course, I just want to pull up again. I'm not going to go through the whole entire thing, and really, I just wanted to pull it up here so at least you guys know about it. I would highly encourage you all to go in here and read about it. It's going to give you more information, a lot of different sections, a lot of different edge cases, a lot more graphics and things like this. So I think this is a great article to read. It's one of the first ones that come up on Google. So I'll leave a link to this in the video description below. So make sure to check that out for resources. I always like to include things when I can because this is how I learn, right? By reading things like this. So I think it's very important if you want to continue leveling up in your investment and finance journey to be able to do the same. So let's get right back into it. So here's a quick example, right? Imagine that you retire with $1 million. So 4% of that means that you have $40,000 in year one. Now you increase this by inflation every year. So what you do is you multiply the previous year's withdrawal by 1 plus inflation rate to maintain your purchasing power as year one. So in year one, inflation is 4%. Now you have 41,600. If in year two, inflation is 3%, then you do 41,600 times 1.03. Okay. And that's the value that you add to that. So why it exists or why it matters. Well, this is a very cool post I came across here. It says here, this came from a 1994 study by financial planner William Bengen. Now, one of the coolest things that I was absolutely not anticipating to see is if I found this post on Reddit, and this guy actually did an AMA. So if you don't know AMAs, they're Ask Me Anything. I think Reddit now has like an official way to do this, but either way, Bill Bengen came on here. This is the financial independence subreddit, and he went ahead and did his own Ask Me Anything. And check this out here because I think it's really cool. I will read this entire response here. I think it's good for all of us to hear, especially from the person that wrote the research themselves. Okay, so this person, Wannabe Fi, says, is the 4% rule still relevant in today's economy? What safe withdrawal rate would you recommend for someone planning for longer than 30 years of retirement? So this person's hoping to live, well, I guess it depends. Well, maybe because this is the financial independence subreddit, this person's anticipating to retire earlier. But for me, more than 30 years, hey, if I can get to be 100 years old, that's going to be awesome. So check this out. He says, Bill Bengen says, that is, thanks for your question. Before I answer it specifically, why don't we dispense with some preliminaries so we're all on the same page? The 4% rule is actually the 4.5% rule. I modified it some years ago on the basis of new research. The 4.5% is the percentage you could safely withdraw from a tax-advantaged portfolio, like an IRA, Roth IRA, or 401k, the first year of retirement, with the expectation you would live for 30 years in retirement. After the first year, you throw away the 4.5% rule and just increase the dollar amount of your withdrawals each year by the prior year's inflation rate. So for example, $100,000 in an IRA at retirement, first year withdrawal is $4,500. Inflation first year is 10%, so second year withdrawal would be $4,950. Now on to your specific question. I find that the state of the economy had little bearing on safe withdrawal rates. Two things count. If you encounter a major bear market early in retirement and or if you experience high inflation during retirement, both factors drive the safe withdrawal rate down. My research is based on data about investments and inflation going back to 1926. I tested withdrawal rates for retirement dates beginning on the first day of each quarter, beginning with January 1st, 1926. The average safe withdrawal rate for all those 200 plus retirees is, believe it or not, 7%. However, if you experience a major bear market early in retirement, as in 1937 or 2000, that drops to 5.25%. Add in heavy inflation as occurred in the 1970s, and it takes you down to 4.5%. So far, I've not seen any indication that the 4.5% rule will be violated. Both the 2000 and 2007 retirees who experienced big bear markets early in retirement appear to be doing okay with 4.5%. However, if we were to encounter a decade or more of high inflation, that might change things. In my opinion, inflation is a retiree's worst enemy. As your time horizon increases beyond 30 years, as you might expect, the safe withdrawal rate decreases. For example, for 35 years, I calculated 4.3%. For 40 years, 4.2%. And for 45 years, 4.1%. I have a chart listing all these in a book I wrote in 2006, but I know Reddit frowns on self-promotion, so that is the last I will have to say about it. If you plan to live forever, 4% should do it. Now, just like he said, Reddit frowns on self-promotion, but I'm just a YouTuber, and I do want to present Bill Bengen's book because I think it's probably a really cool one, and I might go ahead and pick it up myself. But here it is, Conserving Client Portfolios During Retirement, written by CFP William P. Bengen. So that's a 4.5 right now out of 12. Not out of 12, but this is from 12 reviews, so odds are it's probably a pretty good book. I'd probably recommend some of you to pick it up, and if you've already read it, let me know what you think about it. It looks to be a little bit pricey, but hey, so is the cost of something great, right? Knowledge is power. So if you want to equip yourself with this, you want to really get into the weeds of conserving your portfolio during retirement, this is probably and likely the best book to do that. Obviously, there might be others, but this one seems to be pretty good and highly regarded. Okay, going back, right? So the simple question, how much can retirees withdraw each year without depleting their savings too soon? It's a benchmark for financial independence that turns a portfolio number into a real lifestyle number. So instead of wondering, the 4% rule lets you reverse engineer the number. You don't recalculate the initial 4%, you keep raising your dollar amount by the inflation of that given year. Now you can imagine so far that this method, this 4% method, is going to have you sort of keeping track of what inflation rates are. Again, I am sure that someone can do this for you, someone can manage your money for you, but really after all these years of managing your money, do you really want to handle that responsibility to someone else? I suppose if you have so much money that it doesn't matter, yeah, maybe for ease of mind, well, not really ease of mind, because who really knows what these people are doing, or if you just don't really care about losing money, then by all means. But videos like the one I'm making right now, and videos like other people that you can find online, or Twitter profiles, or really any resource, go to your library and read something, maybe read the book that we just went over. They are aimed at teaching you how to do these things for yourself. I believe that knowledge is power. Learn to do these things yourself like I am, and like I know you can, so you don't have to pay someone else to do it for you, and you can keep all that money to use for family, for vacations, for more investing, to dine out, to have fun in your retirement, or really whenever it is in life. I'm a huge proponent on that. So if you're watching this video, I know you have the intelligence and wherewithal to be able to learn these things on your own, really implement them in your own lifestyle to make sure you can lead the life that you want to lead. Okay, so who does it impact? Well, like we said, retirees living off their investments or people pursuing FIRE, which is financial independence, retire early. Now, very quickly, I'm sure if you're watching this video, odds are you've probably heard of the FIRE movement. But for those of you that haven't, here's a very quick blurb about it. The Financial Independence Retire Early FIRE movement is a personal finance approach that emphasizes high savings rate, far more than the standard 10 to 15% typically recommended by financial planners. An investment with the aim of achieving financial independence and potentially retiring earlier than the conventional retirement age. The movement gained popularity among millennials during the 2010s, particularly through online communities such as blogs, podcasts, and discussion forums. Individuals pursuing FIRE typically seek to reduce expenses and increase savings, investing the difference with the goal of eventually covering living costs through passive income. Some writers associated with the movement promote a simplified framework. Spend less than one earns, invest the surplus, and avoid excessive debt. Now look at this. A commonly cited target within the FIRE community is the 4% rule suggested by William Bengen. Sound familiar? Which suggests that a retirement portfolio should equal at least 25 times estimated annual expenses to support long-term withdrawals. Okay, so again, you can read this for yourself. If you're someone that's interested in FIRE, highly recommend learning more about it. Me personally, I am not, and I'm going to give you the reason why. Personally, I really do enjoy my job. I like going to my job. I enjoy the people I work with. I feel like I'm challenged every single day. I'm a software engineer. I've been doing this for 8 years. And if anything, I feel like if I pursue fire, maybe I have a lot of time to, let's say, pursue more YouTube, or maybe when I have kids, spend a lot more time with my kids. But I also feel like I'm losing a primary source of income and a little bit of, not a little bit, but a lot of joy from being challenged and stimulated at my job every single day. For me, it just doesn't make sense to retire early. I'm okay with retiring all the way to 67 and ideally continuing to use my income to fuel my investments, retire at 67, appreciate hopefully Social Security, which we'll talk about then. But to me, it's just not in the cards. Who knows? I'm 32. Maybe by the time I'm 40, I'll think differently. Maybe by 50, I will. I'm not really entirely sure, but this is my stance on it right now. But I highly respect the people who do fire. And I do think that if you can set up your life in such a way to implement fire, then obviously you really know how to manage your money, and that deserves a pat on the back either way. So let's get back into it here. It's less relevant for people who rely on pensions or Social Security. So the original research assumes a retiree was 100% reliant on their portfolio, stocks and bonds. But let's say you have other income, like a pension or Social Security. Your withdrawals can be smaller or more flexible. Okay, your portfolio acts more like a supplement and not your entire paycheck. Right, but check this out. Just on Social Security, many of you have probably been hearing that, hey, is Social Security going away? So I pulled up this article here. This is from ssa.gov, and look at what the first paragraph of the introduction says here. Kind of interesting, maybe a little bit scary for those of us that haven't reached retirement age yet. What's going to happen? I'm sure probably things will work out, but either way, let's read what it has to say. It says, as a result of changes to Social Security enacted in 1983, benefits are now expected to be payable in full on a timely basis until 2037, when the trust fund reserves are projected to become exhausted. At the point where the reserves are used up, continuing taxes are expected to be enough to pay 76% of scheduled benefits. Thus, the Congress will need to make changes to the scheduled benefits and revenue sources for the program in the future. The Social Security Board of Trustees project that changes equivalent to an immediate reduction in benefits of about 13%, or an immediate increase in the combined payroll tax rate from 12.4% to 14.4%, or some combination of these changes will be sufficient to allow full payment of the scheduled benefits for the next 75 years. So pretty much they're saying until the year 2100. After that, not sure what's going to happen, but it seems like in our lifetimes, if you're a millennial, maybe if you're Gen Z, Gen Alpha, then you'll likely be okay. Maybe Gen Alpha, I'm not entirely sure, but definitely Gen Alpha's kids may need to look out for what's going to happen post 2100. But a lot of crazy things going on. Is Social Security even going to be around? I'm not entirely sure. Hopefully it is, because then, like I said, going back to the 4% rule, if all you have are things like your stocks and bonds, look what it says here, crucial for individuals who built wealth mainly through a 401k, IRAs, or brokerage accounts. If that's all you have, you really need to lean on this 4% rule. Of course, if you're getting Social Security, you're getting a pension. These are other ways to supplement that income so you don't have to worry so much. Else, this is what's going to happen. And this is probably the fear that everyone thinks about, okay? So the psychological benefit here says, knowing what's safe to spend helps retirees actually enjoy their retirement without fear of running out. And now I'm going to pull up a video here of something pretty sad, and I'll let the video speak for itself.
But are now back on the job.
This is certainly not part of Larry Gessick's retirement plan. The 77-year-old electrician by trade leaves at 5:30 a.m. and heads for his part-time job unloading trailers at a local supermarket in St. Petersburg, Florida, for $14.75 an hour. His wife, Joyce, 66, prepares for her workday, making $14 an hour as a full-time legal administrator.
It's not really a retirement.
What is it?
It's working every day.
The Gessicks came out of retirement not because they wanted to, but because they had to, and are
I'm going to leave it there, but can you just imagine that for 1 second? Like, you spend your entire life pretty much working, and what do you have to show for it? You get a little sweet taste of retirement, and just when you're really enjoying it, it is taken away from you. Now, some part of that might be because maybe you didn't plan to, let's say, wisely. We don't really know the entire, let's say, situation of these people. Perhaps it's said in the rest of the video, so I won't go too deep into it. I'll leave a link to the video if you all want to watch it, but imagine what that must feel like. And if you scroll down to the comments here, right? If you scroll down to the comments here, you'll see what people say here. So maybe they watched the whole video, but just to get an idea, people love to overspend and then complain when they're out of money. They treated their retirement account like a savings account. Now there's your problem. When you're smart enough to be a legal admin and an electrician, but don't realize you need to save for retirement. He drives a much, much nicer vehicle than I do, but mine is paid off. Continuous car loans are destroying people's savings ability. No one talks about this. Okay, so it seems like perhaps maybe they didn't plan accordingly for retirement, and that's why I'm telling you, I cannot iterate enough. If you're watching this video, you are already way ahead of the game. You know what it is you're doing, and you should be able to manage your money the right way. The guidance of 4% might change the future. We can see earlier in the Reddit post, it's now 4.5%. Maybe in the future, it's a different percentage. But again, if you're watching the video, evangelize the knowledge, tell your friends about it, make sure that you're withdrawing the necessary amount to live a life. You don't want to go into retirement with debt, pay off your car, try to pay off your mortgage, all consumer debt gone, things like this. If you have kids, use like the 529 plan to pay for their qualified. You can use that to pay for qualified educational expenses, no taxes, a lot of things that you can do to make sure you enter retirement with no debt and you can live a long, prosperous retirement, which is exactly what we're talking about. Okay. How does this all work in practice? Well, it's based on historical simulations. It uses data from U.S. market returns, stocks, and bonds going back to the 1920s. So in most 30-year periods, a balanced portfolio, 60% stocks and 40% bonds, survived with a 4% withdrawal rate. By the way, if you're interested in this, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, right now, if you're someone like me, I'm sort of managing my portfolio myself, managing the percentages of things that I put into. I'm really aggressive right now, so I don't have any bonds. I'm mostly just all in on stocks, especially domestic stocks, US-based stocks. But if you want something like this that has a glide path, that has a way of managing itself, especially if you have a 401k, you should be looking into something like a target date fund. I'll probably make a video of what a target date fund is at a certain point, but effectively you say, if I retire at this age, I want you to automatically allocate the percentage I have to stocks and bonds the closer I get to retirement age. So it moves from a mostly aggressive portfolio mix to a mostly conservative, point a mix. That way, the closer you get to retirement, the more you can protect your money, because maybe at that stage you're not so interested in growing your money anymore. You just want to make sure you can keep what you have. So if you're interested in this 60% stocks, 40% bonds, you might want to look into something like a target date fund, which already does this for you. Now, this makes sense, right? If markets do well, your balance can grow while withdrawing, and that's the coolest thing. If the market returns exceed your withdrawal plus inflation, your balance continues to grow. So let's say you pull out 4% that year. And inflation is 2%, right? So that's 6%. But if the market returned you, let's say 10%, you still made 4% back, right? So you're still making some of that money back. So your portfolio can continue to compound even while you're pulling money out using this withdrawal rate. So ideally, you're sort of always hovering around the same value as you continue in your retirement. So you're not ever really losing money. But of course, the 4%, if in case things go bad, gives you a cushion, right? You can absorb a few bear markets without fear of running out of money. Okay, so what does all this to mean for you, right? To live on $40K a year, you need about $1 million invested. To live on $80K a year, you need about $2 million invested. It's not a guarantee, but a guide. So during bear markets, withdrawal adjusting may be needed to make your money last longer. All in all, I just want you to understand this. The 4% rule, the 4.5% rule, whatever it is you want to call it, whatever percentage it is just a rule of thumb. Do your own due diligence. When you retire, look at things, analyze the market, analyze your lifestyle. Maybe you don't really need that much money. You're okay living on less. Remember, odds are if you don't have debt anymore, if you don't have a house payment or a car payment, maybe you're in a nest egg, just you and your wife, you don't have your kids around anymore, right? You're not going to be paying for as much as you were when you're a younger person, when you're growing a family. Maybe you have a mortgage, maybe you have a couple car payments. Take that into account, right? Live below your means. You don't need to live such a lavish lifestyle that you just blow all your money and then end up having to work like this family, unfortunately, that had to do that. You don't want to be in a situation like that. Now, I got a couple of fun things. Okay, I'm a software engineer, right? So I have been working on a website. I have a personal website that I've been working on for some time now. Well, not really some time. This is just something that I sort of just came up with. This is literally my first name, RafaelNegron.me. So it's my little nook of the internet, and just a project I've been working on for the past couple of days is 4% retirement calculator. So if you want to access this website, again, it's just my name. I'll put it in the description below. But one cool thing I worked on is just exactly what we're talking about today. So we have the 4% calculators here. The first one here is annual withdrawal. So check this out. This is simple tools to help you estimate safe withdrawal rates, project future income, and plan a sustainable retirement strategy. So annual withdrawal, okay? This is going to tell you, using that 4% rule that we just talked about, given a portfolio value, how much can you actually take out? So if you have $1 million, just like we talked about with the 4%, you can retire. That first year withdrawal is going to be $40,000. And using that, you will adjust every single year based on inflation. Now, of course, if we go to, let's say, something like $2 million, if you have $2 million in retirement, you can pull $80,000 that first year, $3 million, $120,000. So I want you to come on this website, change the different types of withdrawal rates. Maybe it's 5%, 6%, whatever you want to do. You can see the numbers change, and you can, there's a little formula down here that gives you an idea, but this at least will give you that first year withdrawal rate. And then of course, I wanted to go a little bit of a step forward, a little bit more of a step in the future, right? Your target portfolio. See how much you need saved to retire comfortably based on your desired yearly income. So let's look. We have two modes here, right? In today's dollars and in target year's dollars. So in today's dollars, right? Let's say that when I retire in 2035, if I want to have a desired annual income of $80,000 at a withdrawal rate of 4%, with inflation being 3%, then I'm going to need a portfolio of $2,687,833, because that value, that $80,000 inflated in 2035 will equal $107,513, right? So if you read this, it says you entered $80,000 in today's purchasing power. We inflated this from 2025 to 2040, 15 years at 3% inflation to get $124,637 in 2040 dollars. Then we discounted this back from 2040 to 2035, which is 5 years, to get the year one withdrawal of $107,513. To support that withdrawal rate, you'll need $2,687,833 at retirement using a 4% withdrawal rate. So that's the mode of today's dollars. Now, if you go to target year's dollars, let's say you say, I want $80,000 in 2040. So how much will I need in 2035 with the other parameters to be able to have that much in 2040? Well, you're going to need a portfolio of $1,725,218, right? Your year one withdrawal will equal $69,009, right? You entered $80,000 in 2040 dollars, and we discounted this back from 2040 to 2035, 5 years at 3% inflation. To get the year one withdrawal of $69,009, to support that withdrawal, you'll need $1,725,218 at retirement using a 4% withdrawal rate. So a couple of tools that I created. You can come on this website. Let me know if it helps you out. Let me know if there's something you want me to add to this website. Mess around with the math. You can click on either one of these modes in today's dollars and target year dollars. You can modify the desired annual income, the withdrawal rate, the retirement year, target year, inflation. Mess around with these numbers and see exactly what it is that you want to be able to project for when you believe you're going to retire. Whether you're someone that's in fire, you're looking to retire early, or someone like me that's anticipating to retire, I think for me it'll be 2060, which is wild. But use these tools because they're at your disposal. Obviously, there might be other tools online that are more, let's say, robust, but this was just more of a fun side project for me to do, building up some cool, let's say, little applications that leverage some of the new financial knowledge I'm learning, and also just for you to have some fun with something that's maybe a little more user-friendly, maybe a little bit more simple. Okay, and finally, the last thing I want to talk about here is on my most recent video, which, by the way, I have to say has been my most popular video, one of my most popular videos so far. For me, as a brand new YouTuber, for me, getting 248 views in 2 days is still phenomenal. So thank you all so much for watching this video. It's definitely one of my favorite ones. But someone left an interesting comment. He said, how much do you think he started off with, and at what age to have over 100K at 19? And he's, of course, talking about one of the people I recently started following on Twitter, Carson Talks Money. Okay, now I talked to Carson recently, and one of the cool things is I thought it would be cool to interview him. So I'm actually going to see if I can set up an interview on this YouTube channel with Carson Talks Money, where hopefully you can give us a little bit of insights as a 19-year-old. How did you learn about all this personal finance stuff, investing? Where does he get the motivation from? He asked some of his audience, would you like to see an interview with Inquisitive Finance, which is me? So far, 18 of them have said yes, a resounding yes. We have a couple of people here that are excited for it. So of course, I am very excited for it because I enjoy talking. I enjoy communicating with my community, let's say. And it'll be a cool first guest to have Carson on the show. So if that's something you're interested in, remember to subscribe, like, comment, do all that fun stuff. And if you like the content, let me know. I'm so excited to be talking about more fun stuff. The next video that I have scheduled is about earnings reports, right? This is not something I've ever really dove too deep into, but I think it's definitely the next level for me to get into earnings reports, why they matter, why they're so important, and what you can derive from an earnings report. That video will likely come out sometime next week, Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm actually going on somewhat of a staycation this weekend. Veterans Day is next Tuesday. I'm taking next Monday off of work, so I'll be out for a couple of days this weekend. I definitely need the recharge from work, but I'm so happy to come back next week with some new videos. And of course, the interview, stay tuned for that. I'm hoping to have that some point next Sunday and some point the week after that, around that time frame. Definitely sometime this month, so stay tuned for that. And with all that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care and happy investing.